Welcome to the DraftKings tight end analysis for Week 7. I'm Jason Gilbo, JGilbo11. With me is Russell Clay at Russell J. Clay. You broke down tight ends this week, looking at a punt option, 2 GPPs, and cash. We hopped on, and I think the first words for you are just, I don't like tight end this week.
Hold it. All right, yeah. That's how I feel about tight end this week. I mean, I certainly like our first two options, and it's just hard to recommend any of this mid-tier. I just have a hard time suggesting and telling people to put any of these mid-tier guys in their lineups. We'll get into it. I guess we'll talk about cash first, but yeah, generally speaking, I think this is a pay up, pay down, not dance around in the middle week.
Yeah, obviously the two guys that you listed are expensive, and then you kind of dove in. You skipped a lot of the tier. You skipped a lot of that Delaney Walker type range.
What do we do with Delaney Walker and Travis Kelce? Like, I'm looking at them saying, what do you want from me? Can you figure this out, please, so that I can have any indication of how your usage is going to go? I mean, Travis Kelce in a tremendous lineup, I'm not even looking at him. Or tremendous matchup, I'm not looking at him. I don't care. Great tournament punt, but at his price, with what we've seen recently, it's just not viable.
I mean, I was on Kelce last week. Thinking it would be
but in a perfect spot.
That's the thing. And 3 targets? I mean, that's the same thing with like Zach Ertz over the last, 2 weeks. He's been healthy, 3 targets. It's been a little bit different from last year where we had like 7, 8 guys each week go, oh, okay, these guys are going to get 7 targets and they're in good spots. This year it hasn't been that.
Yeah, it's brutal. So, let's get into the first one. I put Zach Miller in front, or I put Jimmy Graham in front of Rob Gronkowski. I think the price difference of $1,400 kind of makes the difference there. Graham over 8 targets and over 80 yards in each of the last 3 games. Looks healthy, is the Jimmy Graham of old. I'm not worried about a tough matchup. I know it's a tough matchup, but at 5,800, I'd be willing to pay 5,800 for a wide receiver in a tough matchup, and that's how we have to look at Jimmy Graham at this stage. So he's huge. He's Russell Wilson's favorite target as of right now, and I think we should continue to use that until he's 6,500 and 7K. I think we can automatically put him into lineups until that point.
So I think there's going to be touchdowns scored in that game. I don't think it's going to be an ugly game in terms of like 13-10 or something. Like, it's not going to be one of those types of games. It's going to be 27-24, something like that. But it's going to be a lot of weird scoring. And I think Doug Baldwin and some of the outside, wide receiver guys in really tough matchups against that secondary. I think Graham's going to be a focal point in terms of Russell Wilson and where he looks to go.
Definitely. Now, getting back into Rob Gronkowski, 7,200. He's a high-end wide receiver. 160 yards and a touchdown last week. That's what we can look forward to going forward. This is I know it wasn't healthy coming into this season, but generally speaking, like, this is one of the rare times he wasn't coming off like a major injury heading into a year. So now that he's healthy and he's getting a full plate of snaps, I remember his second year, 17 touchdowns. That's his ceiling, like, he's got a 17 touchdown ceiling. This is not some guy who gets, 12 touchdowns. He's done that the past few years because he's been battling injuries. But in this last half of the season, I think we could just see him go bananas and get, honestly, at least a touchdown a game, maybe even average more than that. We've seen him have 3 touchdown games multiple times in his career. This stuff's viable, especially with Brady coming back. They're going to be looking to blow teams out. I think Gronk's an every week play with just as high upside as anyone.
Yeah, with him being healthy, we're back to plugging him in, just leaving him in the article, like leave everything that's there, the name, everything, and just write different analysis each week, because that's how it was last year. Whenever he's healthy, he's obviously a tight end 1 kind of every week. GPPs, you talk about Charles Clay, 3K going up against Miami. Is this more a revenge game for you?
No revenge game. I don't think Charles Clay holds grudges. But one more thing on Gronk. Even last year, they limited him. He wasn't used, sort of all out. They kind of limited his snaps, when they were ahead, they pretty much took him out of the game. I just don't feel like they're going to do that. They didn't do that last week. It seems like he's fully healthy. And 1,111 touchdowns is good for 2015, but I think we could see some really crazy numbers this year. Anyway, back to Charles Clay. Yeah, only 3K. Obviously saw a reasonable target share this past week. Robert Woods might not play, against Miami, who hasn't been very impressive, in any facet of anything involving football this year. And I just think at 3K, he's a value and someone I'm willing to look at, pretty seriously if I'm not diving down, which I'm going to be. So clear fourth option behind Graham, Gronk, and Jack Doyle.
Yeah, I think obviously you mentioned those names, and it seems like if you are punting, Clay would be the swerve off of them because I don't think he's going to get a lot of ownership, really, as he shouldn't. I still think less than 5% is pretty much where you're going to find him.
Yeah, and again, I think that's where he should be. He's a tournament tight end against three really strong options. So, he's my favorite out of that mid range. But generally speaking, yeah, you're just kind of using him sparingly.
Yeah. Hunter Henry, you talk about next, 3,600. This is a guy I'm high on for week 7 here. You tamed your expectations in terms of where I was at.
I like him. I don't think we can continue to expect him to score, a touchdown every week. I think Antonio Gates is still going to have his games where he gets those 2 touchdowns and really steals a lot of the production. Hunter Henry is a tremendous player, and they're going to continue to use him and expand his role in the offense. There's no doubt about that. The matchup's good. I just worry about the Falcons just blowing the doors off the Chargers, and both offensively and defensively. So I guess that's where I'm at.
You don't think San Diego's going to be a legitimate threat this week in terms of DFS?
In terms of winning, no.
Well,
absolutely not. I think
this game we don't get winning points.
I think this game could be like 42-10 is what
man.
Yeah. So I don't really give the Chargers much of a chance in this game. So if that's my logic, then I should kind of be hedging Chargers offensive players. But I mean, I do like Henry at his price, obviously, still extremely cheap compared to any other position, really. So especially in that flex spot, I'm okay with throwing him in there.
In terms of punt tight end, Jack Doyle 2,500 going up against Tennessee. Superstar Jack Doyle. I mean,
yeah.
How can you go wrong here?
Kind of took over the starting tight end role when Dwayne Allen went out. His role was kind of waning for a few weeks there. I think he's going to be back. Beyond T.Y. Hilton, it's a real toss-up right now for who's going to emerge, as that guy. Obviously, they have Frank Gore in the run game, but it's really Doyle, Chester Rogers, and Philip Dorsett as the deep threat. I mean, they need some interior receptions, in the middle of the field, and they just don't have that guy right now. So I think Jack Doyle, especially in the red zone, is going to be a main target again. If he gets 6 targets, I mean, we're looking pretty good to hit value here at 2,500.
And this is a good week. I like this week that the fact that Jack Doyle is an option in terms of a punt play, because I like wide receiver. I think the running backs are just expensive enough to kind of you can work them all together with the punt tight end.
What I'm interested because I almost wrote this guy in. What are your thoughts about Cameron Brate with Vincent Jackson on IR and kind of like just nothing at running back? And, it just, I don't know. What do you think about that play?
I don't mind it. I mean, I think out of the options, I think, if Jordan Reed doesn't play, Vernon Davis is going to carry some ownership. Jack Doyle is going to be some ownership. But, I mean, Cameron Brate's a guy who's going to be used in the red zone. Mm-hmm. And you got to expect Tampa's going to move the ball against this defense. I like him as a pivot. I think he's an intriguing option.
Yeah, he's already had that 2 touchdown game this year. I mean, I was kind of looking at him. I almost put him in, and then I said, no, I can't. I can't put Cameron Braid in as the DFS suggestion. I can't do it.
Oh, now he's going for 102 touchdowns. So
You know what? Good. At least we got me on camera that I don't hate the play. Good.
I mean, he's in playing the 4 p.m. only.
Yeah, there we go. Get your Braid exposure in the 4 p.m. Have your joy. When he goes off for 14 yards and 2 touchdowns, and celebrate your winnings.
Yeah, that's it. That sums it up right there.
Yeah.
Any parting words here?
No parting words. Drink a lot of water. That we worry about getting dehydrated in the summer, but big danger up north. Getting dehydrated in the winter. Sneaky.
Thank you. The more you know with Russell Clay.
Bam, 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 bam.
That's going to wrap things up with the DraftKings tight end analysis for Week 7. Be sure to head on over to dailyfantasycafe.com. Check out our cheat sheets, all our other content for Week 7. And you like what we're doing on the pods, be sure to give us a subscribe and toss us a thumbs up as well.